You all, you better start storing something in your houses. And I'm not talking about guns. I'm talking about food that's non-perishable, because this thing is falling and falling fast. And when your people can't find jobs and can't have money, murder and bloodshed will be all in the streets. There may come a time you won't be able to come to the mosque. But the Quran says, make your homes places of worship.
So what is America facing? Well, let me paint a picture for you by the grace of God. It is written that America is going to suffer the worst famine that has ever been seen. And this is what Jesus prophesied. There would be earthquakes in diverse places. There would be famine. There would be pestilence. Nation would rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That's happening as we speak. If 29 states are under drought and you're not producing in the grain producing states what you did produce at one time when you could feed all of America and feed the world that is hungry. Not today. The crash that's coming will make the crash in 1929 look like nursery school. What will happen to the people when they can't buy goods, when they're hungry? What happens to a man that is in an airplane crash and lives are lost and there's no way to eat? Did not that human being carve up the human that died and ate a human in order to stay alive? You cannot tell a people, thou shalt not steal, when there's nothing for them to eat, for the law of survival takes over. Well, when they are so dissatisfied with their government as they are, you have armed your people to destroy their own government and people. You too will have to fight your own people.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Steve Muhammad with Black Narrative, and today we're going to air an interview I did with Sister Tequella Muhammad years ago, where we talked about survival tips and disaster preparedness. Today, this interview is more relevant than it was years ago. If you have not already started, then you need to begin ASAP to begin to stock your homes with non-perishable foods, water. You need to make sure your first aid supply kit is stocked. You need to make sure you have some books and some board games that you can play while you're sheltered in place, because America is imploding from an internal rot. No external force is bringing America down. It's America's own corruption that is causing her fall. And her the number one cause of her fall, as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is the robbing of the black man and woman of our name, our language, our religion, our culture, our land, and not ameliorating that issue or not reparating the black man and woman. You also have the Native Americans who they decimated and then put on their last remaining numbers on reservations. So here are some of the things that are causing America to go down the way she is. Inflation is hitting America. Hyperinflation, as they say. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the illuminating book, Fall of America, said 100% inflation. Crop failure, population imbalance with the immigration and the fact that the Caucasians are having a birth dearth. Other things that are causing this is the government policies that are basically controlled and dictated by corporate and Zionist forces. These corporate powers and these Zionist forces, they control the media, and they don't allow voices of truth to be aired on their platforms. Her supply chain is collapsing. Drought is hitting America. Extreme weather is hitting America. All of this being caused and brought on by the Son of Man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Take it or let it alone. Just as it was in the days of Pharaoh. You know, Pharaoh didn't want the children of Israel go, and he hatched or devised a plan to deal with them wisely, to kill the male and spare the female. Today, this is no different, but only difference today is he's even attacking the female. So, brothers and sisters, check out this video. Prepare your homes, as Brother Dawood Muhammad said, to be a sanctuary and not a cemetery. And may God continue to bless you and your family with the light of truth and understanding. Assalamu alaikum. And today we're going to talk about two serious subjects. One, we're going to talk about how to prepare yourself and your family for the, just in case there's a natural disaster or civil unrest or any situation where you may have to evacuate. And then part two, we're going to talk about how to begin the year on a healthy diet, knowing how to eat to live and how to exercise properly. And so with that, we have a beautiful guest with us today to talk about how to prepare yourself and your family for the case of civil unrest or natural disaster, Sister Tequella X. And I want to greet you, sister, in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Thank you for coming on to the program with us. And we want to go ahead and talk to you about preparing for natural disaster and civil unrest. What we're hearing now, just recently in the news, is how Walmart is shutting down a number of its stores in other countries and in the U.S. Also, some of the things that are in the news about natural disasters is that we just recently had this situation in Flint, Michigan, where the water was contaminated with a high level of lead. We know that there are floods in the south, wildfires in the west, tornadoes in the Midwest, extreme cold, or what they call the winter vortex in the east. And so first, introduce yourself, and then can you talk about why we should begin to prepare ourselves?
Yes, sir. My name is Sister Tequella X, also known as Divine by Nature. And I have been preparing for many years. Pretty much the last 5 has been very explicit for me, because I know that I see the destruction taking place that we were told in Fall of America, in Message to the Black Man, and also the Holy Quran. So what we see that we read about is now taking place even in the Bible, in Revelation, and destruction of America. So I'm here to kind of get us prepared as much as possible. My saying and my motto is, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. We know that, Allah can destroy your house at any given moment. But if He does spare your house, you want to have the things in your house that will help you to be able to survive in your house for long periods of time. Even with Hurricane Katrina, it was told that a lot of people perished, because they didn't have clean water and clean food and things in their house to survive past a few days. So I'm here as like a first responder and a prepper to prepare us for just some small items that we can prepare in our house, whether you have a lot of money or a lot of income or not. These things you can buy on a day-to-day basis and put in your house to make sure that you and your family is secure.
Yes, and as we, many times when we go on like YouTube or some of these other websites, we'll see that a lot of preppers are white, but there are, but black people, we need to prepare as well. And a lot of times we believe that government will be there for us, or we believe that some other agency of the government will be there. But how can we begin ourselves to prepare our homes? What's our first step?
My first step is what I recommend for everyone is first acquiring knowledge. That is going online, Googling everything. There is also something in Theology of Time, Message to the Black Man, and Fall of America that gives us little key points for us to prepare. But the main thing is going online, watching YouTube videos and Googling things to survive. The knowledge is first, because it could be something so small that you may need and you don't have knowledge of how to do it. Like some people, they don't even know how to operate a fire extinguisher because they never had to do it. So that small item can cause your house to go up in flames because you don't know how to do it. You don't have time to read during that time. You have to be able to react. So that's the first thing I would say is acquiring the knowledge that you need to be able to prepare. Getting some books. Brother Michael's ebook is excellent. I quote it and read it, and I have it in my phone. I take it everywhere I go because it's so much vital information. And if anybody needs to request that, I can give you the website for him at the end. And there's also other many books that other writers have wrote about how to prepare and things like that. It's another sister that wrote a book too. I can't get her name right off the top of my head, but she also made a book about surviving and disaster preparedness. So I'll try to get that at the end of the video as well.
And what are some of the first steps that, what are, for instance, some of the first things that we can begin to purchase for our survival? I know that Costco, they have emergency supply foods. Is that something that we should do, or should we try to can the foods ourselves?
The first thing that you should automatically get is water. That should be the automatic first thing. Water is very important. However you get it, just get it, whether it be in gallons, whether it be the bottles of water. 10 cases of the 24 pack of water is enough for one person to survive for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's always the first thing. And like I said, if you go shopping and you buy one thing every time you go shopping, that just the little bit that you have will be enough. I bought some things around me right now that I can show, but how I survive is I have 5 children, so I'm very strict at what I have and how I stock up. I'm gonna just show you, I put it online as well, but this is the 5-gallon, I had to bring it out so that you know, jug of water, and 8 of those is for one person. If you get 8, that's 40 gallons of water. That'll last a person for 2 to 3 weeks. If possibly longer, because you don't realize how much water you need. Then next is food. Canning is best, and with the canning of food, they need to be secured in some type of waterproof container, and I'll show you one that you could possibly use. Give me a second, I have it right here.
All right.
This is just the top to it, but there's a whole bucket with the lid, and then you can put some saran wrap inside of it, and you can set your can jars inside and put the lids on. Because in the case of an earthquake or a flood or hurricane, you don't want your food to perish along with that disaster. You don't want to set your things up high because most of your things will come crashing down during an earthquake. So you want everything to be kind of low. And like I said, water and navy beans, that's one of the main things that you want to have. Whether they're cooked or uncooked, you want to make sure you store plenty of navy beans in your home. That's like, because there's so many different recipes that you can make and come up with. And going back to the knowledge with that, if you make sure you learn about different recipes and you're cooking those things now in your home and you're eating the things that you know you want to survive with, that will help as well during survival times.
All right. And these foods that we store, can you talk a little bit about them being non-perishable foods?
Yes, non-perishable foods. For instance, like I said, if you can your foods and you put them in canned jars, sealed, you store them inside of the secure gamma seal lid buckets with saran wrap to make sure that they don't move. Make sure, as far as non-perishable, like some mashed potatoes, we don't do the canned goods. You can, if that's the only thing that you have. We don't recommend it because of the aluminum inside of the cans. And we're told that if they get dent in any way, you have to go ahead and throw them out because they're no good for you. They'll cause more toxic, in your body. So it's best for us to store things that we know that we eat on a regular basis. Like for me, I only store navy beans. I store lentils. I have parboiled rice. I have a few cans, but I don't have many cans. Most of my stuff is already jarred and canned up.
Okay. And like, for instance, if there's an emergency where you should, when you should evacuate your phone, one of the things that I was told is that we should always put an emergency number over, out-of-state number, over our phone, just so that we will know that number and so our children will know that number. Can you talk about that? And can you talk about how we should have a meeting place for our family, just in case when something does happen, we know where to meet?
Right. The first thing is having numbers from your address book stored on your refrigerator and learning numbers by heart as of today. A lot of us, we change our number a lot and we don't know anybody's number beside the contact. We have to get these numbers in our head and memorize it. We get people's numbers by heart, just in case your phone gets destroyed or your house is destroyed. You won't be able to have those numbers, and that could be a life or death emergency. If you need to contact somebody, you don't have those numbers. So first, we recommend that you store those numbers in your memory. Try to get them memorized, and then also have an address book. We don't have address books anymore. Have an address book and a phone book with all the numbers of your family members and immediate friends that you have, that you can keep stored, one in your car and one in your home. And I have a go bag that I sit next to my door that anytime it's time for me to go, I just grab that bag and go. And I also have one stored in my trunk. And it also has the addresses and numbers and a small phone that I have in there that's prepaid mini phone that you can call out to those. And then you also, as far as the meeting place, you call relatives and you have one set meeting place where everybody can go. For instance, if something happens down here in Memphis, I have family in North Carolina. Everyone knows that our meeting place is my sister. So in order for, whenever I get to somewhere where I'm safe and secure and I can make a call, I call my sister and I tell my sister I'm okay. So she can let the rest of the family know Tequella's okay, this is where she is. So everybody has that one contact person that you know that you go to if something happens. And the same with her, she knows that if she's in North Carolina and something happens, she can call me and let me know that she's okay, or my mom, and then we'll know that she's fine. And as far as what was the second question you said?
You talked about the to-go bag that people should have ready. What should you have in your to-go bag?
You need a lot of things. As much as you can stuff in there, I stuff so many things. I have hand warmers. I have a small little bitty tent. I have a small a little sleeper bag.
Right.
I have food. I have bottles of water. I have 2 change of clothes. You need feminine items for the women. My children, I made their go bags and I put like maybe some crayons and coloring books and stuff for them to be entertained during a disaster. But I make sure they have enough to last for 3 weeks. Food and I just stuff whatever I can get in there. I have first aid, batteries, flashlights are in there. I have radios in their bag. I have a radio that's made with all type of different tools and charger pieces to it so that you can survive during that time. Just enough, and it's not for a long time. The go bags is more for like 5 days to a week at the most.
Right.
But that's just something, if you have nothing and you have to go at that moment, you have at least enough to make it for the next couple of days.
And also, I was reading that, you know, for a person that may have certain medical issues, that maybe they should see if they can, you know, order ahead. Now, I know that that might not be very difficult in this day and time with certain overdosing and things like that going on. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you order ahead, and if you know your medicine, like if your medicine has an expiration date for maybe a year from now or a couple of months, you go ahead and order ahead and go ahead and stick it inside of your go bag in your car. And like I said, the one at your door. I recommend everybody have two, because the one that's in your bag, in your car, it might happen when you're at work, or if you're someplace outside of your home and something happens and all you have is what's in your car and you need to survive in your car. So I recommend having one in your home and one in your car, and getting some medicine for maybe 3 months or so, and store them in your bag just in case you won't be able to get those things. That's definitely a requirement for your go bag. Right. And for your survival kit as well.
And when we look at some of the situations that, because you talked about family, and us preparing our family, should we run like drills? Because they have the commercials that they try to make it funny, but it's really not funny, because they say they go to the a family member and they say, Johnny, did you do this? And he said, no, I didn't. And then they go down the line. Nobody is prepared. So how can you talk to your family and get them in the mindset of the possibility of moving out on your preparedness plan?
First, I think you should have a family meeting. And like you said, running drills, that's the biggest thing. Running drills. Just stop in the middle of whatever's going on and say, it's a drill, it's an earthquake, let's go. And just kind of see how everyone moves when it gets serious, because a lot of people are not in that mind frame, and a lot of people would not take it seriously in this day and time. Like I said, Allah says he has to whoop our butt sometimes, so sometimes he has to show us. I have a book for my children since I had 5. This one is called What Happened to My World. I don't know if you can see it, but it talks about natural disasters, and it speaks to them about what's going on with the world and kind of how to explain to them so that they can understand, from a child's perspective. But always be upfront and center with your family and your children about what's to take place and what could possibly happen, and just get them prepared. And if you prepare them and run those drills, I bet you they'll feel so much more comfortable. I guarantee. My children are so much more comfortable when we run drills and I explain to them exactly what could happen. They're going to have that anxiety. They may have that fear, but being prepared is the best that you can do during any disaster. That's the most that you can give your family, is to already be prepared if something happens.
And now, like I said in the beginning, we have Walmart closing down a lot of these stores. And besides Walmart, what I'm trying to make clear is that whenever there's a natural disaster, some type of event that is going on, the weatherman talking about a huge storm coming in, what people have to realize is that you may be stuck in your home, and the fear of that causes what's called a run on the stores, where you may be standing in line. It may be a situation where it may be almost like a Black Friday, where you have people fighting. And we're saying that the best way to avoid that is start to prepare your home now to be a sanctuary and not a cemetery.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And
yes, preparing early helps you to beat the rush. For instance, I'm not fully prepared because I feel like I can just continue to prepare, but literally every day I buy at least 10 or 15 things, whether it's $1 or $2. If I feel that it's a necessity for my home and it would help in the times of a disaster, I go ahead and buy it. I bought today, I went and I saw, I was promoting the solar panels, and they made some little lights that are solar panel lights that sit like lamps. Mm-hmm. So now, you can sit these in your bathroom and in places in your home. And then if you don't have any electricity, you set it outside and then it'll relight itself. So things like that. You have to be prepared. Don't wait to prepare, because everybody's going to think the same thing at the very same time. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any money during that time, the people that have money are going to be the ones that buy everything. Mm-hmm. They're not going to go in there and buy 1 gallon of water. They're going to go in there and spend every dime on water because they want to survive just like you want to survive. So it was told to us that you might go outside, and that might mean sudden death for you or your family. So it's going to be a time where you're not going to want to leave. But if you don't have anything in your house to survive or keep your family, you're going to have to watch your children die because you did not prepare. You know, there has been homes that have been destroyed on one street, and there have been homes on that same street that were still intact, and nothing wrong with that home. But if those people had stuff in their homes to survive, then they probably would have been able to weather that storm until things got better at that time. But if you have nothing in your house, you're going to have to risk death on going out trying to find food or find water for your family, and all that you can already have those things together now. And that's what I'm promoting every day. I promote daily to get your survival kits now. Don't put it off. Don't procrastinate. If you can't see the signs going on right now, what's going on in the world, and that's not pushing you to survive and get what you need in your house to secure you and your family, then there's nothing else that anybody can say at this point.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Sure.
And I do want to mention, and if you could give out your information and also that website, because you do put out a lot of great information on your Facebook site. And so if you would like to give out your information and how they can get Brother Michael's book, and then I would like to go into talking about self-defense and first aid. But if you could go right ahead.
Okay. I'm going to give out Brother Michael's first. You can email him at writer, WRITERMDM@gmail.com. And all you have to do is ask him for the ebook, and he'll send you all the information that you need to make sure you read it. It's full of so much vital information. Like that is, I take that with me everywhere. And my information is, my email is Tequella, TEQUELLA, the letter X, @gmail.com, or Divine by Nature LLC @gmail.com.
Excellent. And how important is it for us to know first aid, or at what level should we be at in knowing first aid?
As much information as you can retain is what I believe. There's so much that we have to know involving first aid and CPR. Outside of the classes that are taught with the American Red Cross and FEMA, we should be watching videos daily on how to perform just regular CPR, what to do, how to help splint up arms if an arm gets broken, or trying to get somebody out of something they can't breathe. There's so many things that we should know when it comes to first aid. Your child could be drowning. Do you know how to save them if they're drowning? How to get the water out? We don't know these things. A lot of us are really illiterate to first aid. We have no idea what to do. So watching these videos, reading books, and taking classes daily will mean life and death for you or your family member. It could be that serious. So I take classes on a regular basis to make sure I'm up to par with my certification. I watch videos daily about CPR, how to survive, how to fix broken arms, how to fix legs. If a person gets cut, how do I apply, pressure on it, or, bandages on it. Certain things that you can do and watch. That's the biggest thing, is acquiring that knowledge.
And, like you say, there are certain classes that I think that certain organizations give out for free, where you can learn first aid procedures. Also, there are books and YouTube videos. But I think that you're right. Instead of us, wasting our time frivolously on some of these so-called reality TV programs, we need to begin to seriously think about survival, because as you just said, and as we are taught from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that the signs are made so plain that even a baby can understand. That you see the El Nino, whether people want to believe that it's an act of God or not. You see this winter vortex, and these are all striking America, sending floods, and as I said, tornadoes, unusual amounts of tornadoes, lightning strikes, and things like that. So we need to think very seriously about preparing ourselves and our families.
And also our neighbors as well. I don't mean to cut you off, but also our neighbors. And Brother Michael talks about that too. If you go and, like for me, I printed off some of the stuff from his book, and I also added a list that I put together of things that should be found in your home. Give it to your neighbors. If you're not really close to your neighbors, put it on your porch or something like that. If you can't touch their mailbox, but put it out for them to, because like someone else said, if you have food in your house and they smell food, or your chimney is going off because you're warm in this wintertime, they're going to come to your house. So you have to be found in order to protect you and your family. Let them know what they should have stored in their house too, not just your family. And then make sure you put enough up for the family members that don't prepare. Because you're going to have those that won't prepare, that know that you have stuff that's going to come. So me, I don't just put up enough for myself. I do put up extra for any believers or any family members that I know that might have to end up coming to my house at any point in time.
Right. And we just have 5 minutes, and the thing is, sister, is that we only have the 30-minute program on our television show, and we look to interview you and possibly Brother Michael, if possible, for more extended and in-depth interview on our radio show. But what we want to close out with or talk about is some self-defense. If you could talk on that. How important is it to know self-defense, or to have something that we can defend ourselves with?
Yes, sir. Martial arts, taking any martial arts classes at this time is very important to defend. We're taught not to carry any weapons, so we don't carry any weapons. So you have to be found being able to protect, because even with storing survival things in your house, there's going to come a time where you will be attacked. We will. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We will be attacked. Whether they come in to attack our food or what, they're going to attack us. So at every time, we need to be found being prepared. You can start your children up at 1 and 2 years old, preparing them. Like the minister told us, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, a baby can throw a bottle. So they can start early. So prepare your family. Let them watch videos. Take them to classes as far as martial arts. Attend any classes that you can take at this point, and get yourself prepared. Get yourself fit. Exercise. Work out. Be found eating how to eat to live, so that you'll be able to defend yourself. If you're not found eating properly, then you'll be out of breath fast, and you won't be ready to defend yourself. So, and then I still have stuff in my house like mats.
Right.
Those are things that I have just in case. I'm a woman. Trying to fight a man is not, you still have to be prepared. That's not a weapon per se, but it's something just in case for me,
No doubt. And, as you were saying, you might not just only be out of breath, but you'll be out of food if you eat 3 meals a day. As we close out.
Yeah, really fast. Yeah.
That's right.
There'll be a lot of fasting that has to take place during survival as well. That's why you should be found doing those things now. Don't put it off.
That's right. That's right. Because we don't want to, as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan says, look at our children like these cartoons sometimes, where they start to look like a rump roast or some delicious meal. You're going to want to eat
little babies, he said. You're going to want to eat your babies, and that's exactly what will happen. He said you will never feel hunger like you'll feel when you don't have no food and it's been weeks. You'll never feel that. See, we have luxury right now. So it's best now to go prepare and make sure that your family is prepared, so you don't have to get to that point.
With our 3 minutes to go, we also want to be mindful of having our home very clean. And also, many of us as a people, we don't have books in our homes. But if we're stuck in our homes, we need books. We need maybe some games that don't require, electricity. Board games. Because if we are stuck in our homes, we do need to entertain ourselves in some type of way. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. You can make games and go ahead and get those board games. I have cards for the children. I have coloring books and crayons, things that they can stay quiet, because they're going to have to be quiet as well. In order for you guys to survive, in order for us to survive, they're going to have to be quiet. So just entertainment is a must. Entertainment is a must. Yes, sir.
And so we have just 2 minutes to go. One of the things that I would like to ask the people to do is to study your environment. Find out what type of risk are in your area. Some of us live by, for instance, here in Dayton, Ohio, we're right by Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. that is a potential target for the enemy to bomb. And and as you were saying, as we are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that eating navy beans is one way of protecting ourselves against radiation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. And so I think we should begin to know if we're living in a flood zone, if we're living in an area where we're at risk for potential earthquake, because all of these things, as we see, are taking place to throw a enemy off the planet.
It's coming, and have a map. Know where you're going. That is the hardest thing. We GPS everything. You need to have a map. That's one of the main things I suggest as well before I get off the call. Make sure you have a map and make sure you know your routes and know where to go. Don't follow the crowd. When everybody's getting on the highway, you should go another way to get out of wherever you're going. Make sure you have an actual map, a couple of maps, so that you can find your way.
Well, I want to thank you, sister, for your time. And I know that it was a process for us to work through this Skype, but we did it. Praise be to Allah. And thank you, sister, for your time. And I'll be getting in contact with you, hopefully to arrange that radio interview.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sister. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
All right, and that was an excellent interview with our Sister Tequella X, who is informing us on how to prepare ourselves for natural disaster or civil unrest. And this is a very serious subject, and we hope that you take it seriously. Do your study, do your research. Instead of spending your food on or your money on frivolous things, now begin to prepare you and your families for survival. And this is not a scare tactic, but this is the reality. If you look at the climate of geopolitics, you see that Russia and Iran and the U.S. and China and all of them at heads with each other. And so who knows what will happen. And aside from that, you see what's going on here in America with the racial tension and what's going on with the weather. So prepare your family. This is the best thing for you to do at this day and time.
But look at the intervals now of calamities, one behind another. Do you know what it's all about? It's not about your policy toward the Palestinians and Israel, although that's important. I'll get into that in another broadcast, God willing. It's not about birth control or these kinds of things that you're putting on the people of the third world. No. What are your plans for the black man and woman of America? The more you plan to get rid of us, rather than do justice by us, you're hastening the day of your own doom. I'm not pleased to have to say these things to you, but look about you. Look at what's happening to the country. Look at what's happening to the economy. Look at what's happening to you as a people. Justice is what you have to practice. And if you refuse to practice justice, fair dealing with the children of the slaves, then the end of your civilization is not only in sight, it has entered America. And as the last plague of Pharaoh that God brought to Pharaoh was a plague of death, then I'm sorry to tell you, death has entered America as well. Famine is on the way. Pestilence is on the way. Terrific earthquakes are on the way. All because some of the wise of you know the time, but you're afraid to let us go. You don't have anything for us to do. You can't prepare jobs for our millions of unemployed. Why not let us go? But just not throw us out like that parable in Ezekiel, in an open field. No, 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 no. The umbilical cord is cut, being cut. But shouldn't you help us to go for ourselves? What is a mother's breast for if it is not to nurse the child that is freed from its womb until the child is strong enough to go for itself? When its little system is mature enough to take on another kind and quality of food. We have been let go, but we're still tied. Let us go. Untie us. But if you don't, Allah will. He said that the lawful captive will be delivered. And watch this scripture. And the prey. Now look at how he describes black people. We're a prey in your hands. You come into our neighborhood, you shoot us down, you see that we are killing each other, and you help us in that destructive method of dealing with us. But remember, keep watching the weather, the forces of nature. It's time now that we must be delivered. It's time now that we should be set free. It's time now that you should help us to go for ourselves. It's time now. And if you did it, some of this stress and distress and affliction that you are suffering will come off of you, and then you can work on what you have to do in the world.